Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family. Good evening, new viewers. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. So much to talk about this evening. So much to share with you. It's the story that just won't quit. It just won't go away. It keeps coming back in various forms. Tonight, in a couple of forms on a couple of different fronts on both the U.S. and Canadian side of the border. What are we dealing with here? What am I talking about? Well, it's the larger issue, I guess, of gay rights, LGBTQS plus rights, activism here in Canada. Just earlier this week, we talked about the flag issue in my hometown. And I told you that this issue would be affecting you regardless of where you live in North America. I told you, and sure enough, the flag issue. Here locally, there was a motion that was defeated, but is going to be revisited in a manner of speaking by next September. But anyway, the issue was flags for special interest groups, including the LGBTQS plus community, the pride flag. There was a motion to prevent it from being flown, or any special interest group restricting in this town flags in front of government buildings here to be only federal government, provincial government, and municipal government flags. That's it. The motion was defeated here. But I told you that this issue would be visiting a town hall near you, if not your own. And sure enough, it has indeed done that. Just down the road in another community, Norwich, Ontario, they've dealt with the same issue. They voted the other way. They approved the motion, which means the Progress Pride flag will not be flown in front of any government buildings in that community and any municipal government buildings or any other special interest group flags. We're going to explore this issue. I'm hoping to get to the phones so that you guys can weigh in on this conversation as well. And then on the other side of the border, it's not so much about the flags specifically, but in the Montana House, Zooey Zephyr addressed the Montana State Legislature just prior to a vote on disciplinary action for her. Zooey Zephyr is the only transgender representative in the House there, and made a controversial statement back on the 20th of this month, I believe, with regard to a proposed ban at the time on gender affirming medical treatments, which could include hormone replacement therapy, surgeries, things of that nature, including for younger people, and said something to the effect of, if you proceed with this, you'll basically have blood on your hands. I have to get the exact quote. But anyway, Zooey Zephyr, the center of a political storm in Montana. And yeah, we're gonna talk about that as well. It just this battle between various groups on gay rights, Christian rights is just intense, and it's just not going away. And it is something that just can't really be ignored. It is it's rearing its head everywhere in various forms. So all that going on tonight. What else do we have for you? Lori has been censored. So we're going to talk about what's happened to our own Lori Spencer being censored. Pierre Poilievre, leader of the official opposition, got a slap on the wrist today, sort of, for singing in the House of Commons. We'll bring that to you as well. The federal government in Canada has announced proposed changes to the sexual offender registry. Joe Biden held a news conference with President Yoon of the Republic of Korea. He also delivered some remarks, finally, to follow up his announcement that he is running for re-election, and following the release of that video that we showed you yesterday. And I didn't get a chance to talk about this yet, but Windsor, Ontario, Canada, has been named the Karen capital of the country. You may have heard about that, especially some of our local friends who no doubt have been made aware of it because they live in the city that is now officially the Karen capital of Canada, Windsor, Ontario. The federal workers' strike is continuing. And then back to the whole, struggle, the battle of the, I don't know what you call it, man. Well, there's just a high school student. Again, female, wore a suit to prom, wouldn't let this person in because it wasn't, I don't know. I guess if you don't wear a dress and you're female, they don't let you go to the prom. So that's going on. That one doesn't really make sense to me, but whatever. You know, I don't know. So we've got all that stuff happening tonight. Yeah, the whole world has gone nuts, or maybe it's still just nuts. So all that and more coming up right here. Try to hold on to your sanity. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Hello. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Every day I get up in the morning and I think, what am I going to talk about on the show tonight? I hope I can find enough to talk about. By the time 6 o'clock rolls around, I'm left worrying and rushing and trying to make sure that trying to fit all of the stories in that I want to address, and that's the case tonight. Let's dig right into the first story. We're going to start in Canada first of all, just down the road, and this is in Norwich Township. Little community not too far from where I live here in Ontario, Canada. And in this town, they have voted to exclude flags for special interest groups on township property. So that means, see, what happens is a lot of municipalities will recognize certain groups, endorse them, promote them, try to raise awareness for charities or other community groups by raising their flag in front of municipal buildings. It's a fairly common practice. It's a community-oriented effort. Well, in some cases, groups are being excluded, and that's being done for a variety of reasons. You'd have to go and ask the individual counselors or administrators why they make these decisions. But in this town where I live, I think it was some church groups that were being denied access to that. I'll call it a service or endorsement from the municipality. While other groups, of course, are heartily endorsed and promoted, including pride groups. Well, in Norwich, Ontario, they've now voted to just say no more special interest flags flying in front of municipal buildings or on township property. We're just flying from this point on government flags, federal, provincial, local. And this came by way of a proposal from Councillor John Scholten. He tabled the motion, and there was extensive debate. I can tell you that I spoke with Mr. Scholten today. He declined an offer to appear on this program this evening to comment and to elaborate on his reasons for tabling this. It has been, to say the least, an issue that has generated a lot of debate, and it was a spicy night at council in Norwich Township. You can pick this thing up just about anywhere along the timeline. I have the video of their meeting queued up here to share with you right now. Let's go and just listen in a little bit, shall we? It's pretty good.
And for your courteous replies, those of you who gave
just to give you a taste of
I really appreciate that.
The atmosphere there. It was a full house.
Sure. Is this better?
Here we go. They're
Okay,
starting with
thank you for letting
delegations,
me know.
people speaking to the issue, the public.
So, full transparency, let me just introduce myself. On the agenda, I am Dr. David Lipsey. I am also a minister of the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. The Lord Jesus remarkably turned my life around when I was in my 20s, and I have had the privilege and honor of knowing him and serving him ever since. I have training in 4 years of pharmacy in the Rutgers University College of Pharmacy. I received a bachelor's of education in education. I received a master's in divinity, and my doctorate is in counseling, which is what brings me here tonight. Just so you don't think I lived in an ivory tower all my life. I worked in the post office, I worked in Burger King, I worked in greenhouses, I worked in meat packing plants. I've sold furniture. I've moved furniture for a living. I'd like to address the council on the motion that we're considering in a way that perhaps has not been mentioned. It's likely that the reason that the three motions may appear irreconcilable is because they deal with an issue that lies at the core of what it means to be human, namely identity. For example, the motions proposed by Councillor Stubb touch on the issue of identity for those in the 2S LGBTQ+ community and are, for them, not simply a matter of opinions or beliefs. Similarly, Christians identify themselves as followers of the Lord Jesus Christ, taking Scripture for what it is, the Word of God. Also for them, the motions being considered are not simply about opinions or beliefs, but reach to the core of a Christian's identity. The same would be true of First Nations, Muslim, Hindu, and other people groups. People may dialogue and disagree about matters of policy, beliefs, and opinions without abandoning their identity. With this in mind, I would submit that the Council avoid adopting policies that favor any group identity at what appears to be the expense of another. Having said this, why would not the Council look for aspects of identity that we all share and that do not require a challenge to or abandonment of one's identity? We all identify as Canadians. We all identify as being part of a shared community. We all share the identity of being human. Should we not then, with thankfulness, display symbols of identities we share, symbols that unite us? And allow me to add one more thought. I freely offer, not only to our council members, but to anyone in this room or beyond, to dialogue in a respectful manner with anyone of any identity over coffee, tea, or a beverage of your choice at my expense, because I believe that is how we can and ought to meaningfully engage one another and learn to understand each other. And for that reason, I'm going to leave my contact information on this desk for anyone who wishes to follow up on my offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Lipsy. Any questions from council?
I do.
Councilor Stubbs.
Dr. Lipsy, I just want to thank you for starting to engage in efforts in establishing your positionality. I think I commend that, and I think that that's really important. So thank you for doing that. I wondered, I just have a point of clarification. Can you help me understand or clarify that when you speak about motion, basically making another identity give up their legitimacy? Can you just spell that out for me, like what you mean by that? Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your question, Councillor Stubbs. I don't believe symbols actually ought to be the point of contact when we discuss identity. I think my counseling training, my pastoral experience, identity is something that reaches to the core of a person. And I think what we see happening in this township is a lack of meaningful engagement of people of different identities, and I lament that. And I believe the use of symbols to try to somehow bolster one identity.
Okay, so let me just, you're getting a little taste of that. Let's go ahead here. And we'll pick it up here.
You $28,000 a year to do this important work that makes all people feel safe in our community. Passing motions that refuse to accept and celebrate a portion of our community is a shameful way for you to spend our hard-earned dollars and that of all your constituents. Shep and Colleen have many close family members who are gay, lesbian, and transitioning. This community does not feel like a safe space for them. Visiting them feels unsafe for them because of what has happened in this township. do better for our family, do better with the hard-earned money that we've made, and do better for our future generations. Accept all opportunities to celebrate diversity, and then together we can thrive. And now I would like to introduce the other part of our delegation's presentation, and it's going to be done by no other than the Oxford County Pride Committee President, Tammy Murray.
Oh, I touched the red button. Oh, apologies. Thank you all for having me here. So don't touch the mic moving forward. Got it. I would like to begin this evening with just some simple definitions from the Oxford Language Dictionary. So the first word I'd like to start with is the word diversity. Let's talk about the practice or the quality of including and involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and from different genders and sexual orientations. Next word, inclusion. The practice and policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people that might otherwise be excluded. Third definition, equality. The term equality refers to fairness and justice and the quality of being fair and impartial. I'm here today to address the current motion brought by Councillor Scholten, and specifically this recent amendment that specifically identifies Progress Pride flags as a component of the downtown beautification. With all due respect, in what world is a rainbow not beautiful? This small minority of individuals within the community who have chosen to target the 2S LGBTQIA+ community through this attempt to polarize and digress our human rights and our freedoms. In the past, I've been blatantly lied to by the previous mayor of this township. I was told this policy was already in place. You can imagine my surprise to find out it was not. The absolute hypocrisy in the rationale for this motion, safety and security restoration in this community. Nobody that is putting this motion forth is unsafe or needing security. The purpose of Progress flags is to reduce risk of homophobic violence, youth suicide, promote inclusion and love. The homophobic violence that was perpetuated in June of 2022 was not committed by anybody in the 2S LGBTQI+ community. But I do wonder what community members were a part of those crimes. All of you in protest today, shame on you. You preach Christianity but embrace hate and violence. This is hypocrisy at its best. It's disappointing that I even have to sit here and identify and express my own being to all of you. It's unfortunate that a small group of you feel you have the power and autonomy to dictate to others how we should think and feel. No one's infringing on your faith. No one in the 2S LGBT community is creating divide or an unsafe environment in the township of Norwich. Unfortunately, moving forward, the primarily people at risk are people like me. No matter how I try to educate, advocate, and respect diversity and inclusion and equality this evening, many of you are going to continue to justify your hate in the realm of spirituality, morality, and simply your personal opinions. And in fact, no one here is asking you to change a thing. You have the right to think and feel exactly what you wish. However, you do not have the right to project your values, your morality, or your behavior onto the rest of us. I don't have to agree with your values, and you don't have to agree with mine. Wars have been fought for generations to protect those very rights and freedoms. It's scary. It really is scary right now. When you think the typical initial act of fascism and historically is the removal of multicultural flags. Norwich is part of a larger community of Oxford County. You don't stand alone on an island. We all pay taxes in Oxford County. In 2021, your township committed and agreed to the Oxford Safety Plan and Wellness Strategic Plan, directed by the provincial government. The outcomes are clear in respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you choose to pass this motion, this council is in direct conflict and digressing from that commitment. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the outcomes or the projected outcomes from the Safety Wellness Plan and directives. They are a couple as follows. The values of equity and diversity and inclusion will be affirmed by 9 councils and embedded in the policies and practice and services of these 8 municipalities. Leadership within the public and private nonprofit sectors will be more representative of diversity within these communities. Mr. Schulten's suggestion developing a DEI committee within this motion in play is complete contradiction. If you choose to support this motion, Mr. Schulten and the Township Council will be in direct violation of the Ontario Human Rights Code. This is a clear and direct discrimination towards the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. It's not acceptable. These rights are, all persons are universal and indivisible. Everyone should enjoy the same fundamental rights regardless of sexual orientation, their gender identity, and/or expression. This council would also be in violation of its own code of conduct that clearly states as follows. Council members must recognize their responsibility to represent diversity in the community view in a fair, equitable manner while developing an overall strategies for the future township of Norwich. And in doing so, you must be impartial. By banning progress flags specifically in writing, it's a clear statement of homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, and an exclusion of the BIPOC community. The rainbow flag stands for diversity and unity. And I'm so confused why a small secular group of people would want to object to such a positive message. I'm not going to combat the rhetoric and the propaganda that's being presented here this evening. It's frankly pointless. The fact that I have to stand here and speak to an audience of people in a municipal council identifying this incongruency in diversity and equity and inclusion validates the discrimination itself. These are behaviors and values that don't fit with any spirituality or any God I am aware of. At this time in humanity, we should be supporting and lifting each other as we encounter more and more religious divide impacting our political perspectives.
Okay, so this goes on for a while. Let's pick it up down here. Hang on, here we go.
Thing to do. Thank you.
Next speaker.
So thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I know I've spoken with all of you, actually, but here we go again. My name is Kaylin Bartlett, and I'm a resident of Burgessville and a teacher at College Ave Secondary School, where many teens from Norwich County attend. Some of what I'm going to say will be my own, but most of it will be words from people who can't speak for themselves out of fear for their safety. I just want to reiterate, these are from teens, children, who live in this community, okay? Children who live in this community. Some of these words have been edited, not in their meaning, but just they were long, so to respect the timeline. From the Rainbow Knights, we write this letter to you to share the collective voices of the Rainbow Knights, which is College Avenue Secondary School's Pride Alliance. Rainbow Knights is a club that helps create a safe space for youth who identify under the Pride umbrella and their allies. The hanging of Pride flags helps to create a more positive and inclusive community by displaying visible symbols of support. Visible symbols of support show your commitment to creating a safer space for all. These symbols allow a person to know that they are seen and valued members of the community, and at the very least have a place where they hopefully won't be a target of hate. By flying Pride flags in the Norwich community, you are showing your commitment to these same values, love, respect, and inclusion. We, as the Cast Rainbow Knights, ask you to overcome the hate that has been shown in our community by allowing the Pride flags to be flown. With pride, the Rainbow Knights, College Ave Secondary School. From another student, we can't let the intolerant few silence the many who are working hard to provide an inclusive and supportive environment for the LGBTQ+ community in Norwich and Oxford counties. Please know that your support is appreciated, and I hope to see the flag hang proudly once again. Another student, when the flags were up in downtown Norwich, it brought a sense of joy, freedom, light, and representation. It was feeling just a little bit safer. Sorry. Seeing all the Pride flags in my community makes me feel as though I'm seen and accepted within my community. The community I've always called my family. Being transgender and gay in a small town feels lonely and scary. This is my home, and I want to feel loved and accepted. And the hate that is shown through the vandalism of Pride symbols makes me scared to leave my house for fear that someone may hurt me for expressing myself. I am 17, and I don't want to live in fear for loving who I want to and being who I am. The recurring theme in these comments is safety. I believe, as I hope all of you do, that everyone has the right to feel safe, especially in their community, in their home. These comments from people within this community, again, children asking for our help, right? Children. These comments from people within this community show that members of the Pride community feel safer when they see these symbols. This is not a surprise. This is what is shown in all the literature. This is exactly what is shown in numerous studies. Displaying Pride symbols has positive outcomes for people in the Pride community. I'm going to assume you all want positive outcomes for people in the Pride community. According to a study reported in the National Library of Medicine, for Pride community members, displaying Pride symbols is related to positive feelings about themselves, positive feelings about different communities and their futures, and it shows safety and support. I am sure, not to be redundant here, that you, like me, want all youth in this community to have positive feelings about themselves, to have positive feelings about this community, and that they can have hope for their future. The hanging of Pride banners on township-owned property is a crucial step towards making Norwich County safe for everyone, a basic right all people should have. I want to be really clear. This is not about promoting one group over another. That's not the issue. This is about safety. I urge council members not to support a bylaw that prevents the hanging of inclusion flags. I know that by passing this bylaw, you are telling members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community they do not belong here. They are not safe here. I also fear that passing such a bylaw will embolden the people who have acted out in hate and violence by stealing or defacing flags, vandalizing personal property, writing threatening letters, firing BB guns at people's homes. It says to them, you were right, these people don't belong. The thing is, they do. They belong here. They are here. They are loved. They are valued. Your vote tonight only says whether you want them to be safe or you want them to be scared. Thank you.
So thank you, Kaylin. Thank
Thanks.
you, Scott. Any questions of council? Adrian, please.
Thanks for being the voice for the children that wrote you letters.
Yep.
Thanks for reading them.
Yeah. Thanks, Adrian. Or Councillor Kallenberg. I can leave.
No one else?
I was going to express my
Alicia?
feelings. When you said that the explicit comment of feeling safer when they see displaying Pride symbols, it's not about the symbols, it's about the safety, as you're saying. And not only are we hearing this from our children, we're also linking it to literature. So thank you for doing that in a very loving and succinct research.
So
Thanks,
thank you,
Councillor.
Alicia. Thank you, Scott
yeah.
and Kaylin.
Yeah.
So we'll pick this up a little further on, and then we're going to move on to the next. Here we go.
An Ontario-based study of trans people found that 20% had experienced physical or sexual assault due to their identity, and that 34% were subject to verbal threats or harassment. Quote, trans people in both Canada and the U.S. report high levels of violence and harassment and discrimination when seeking stable housing, employment, health, or social services. This community is being targeted by hate, and they need support. They need to see that people care and that they're not just thrown under the rug and ignored. The 2S LGBTIA+ community are at higher risk for depression, anxiety, OCD, phobic disorders, self-harm, substance use, dependence, and abuse, and ultimately an increased risk for suicidality. There is twice the risk for PTSD for them than those who do not identify within the community. Youth in the community are approximately 14% times the risk of being suicidal and using and abusing substances. 77% of trans youth used as a sample in an Ontario-based survey had seriously considered suicide, and 45% attempted suicide. You may think something like a flag won't change anything, but trust me, it will. According to further research by the Canadian Mental Health Association, they need support from family, friends, as well as supportive workplaces and a supportive community. You may think that not raising the 2S LGBTQIA+ flags allows for peace and harmony. I urge you to think about the kids that are killing themselves because they think no one cares or loves them. Think about your family when you're voting today. Think about the amount of possible deaths that can occur. Think about how that will make this township look, all because we could not let the community know that we support them. Thank you.
So thank you, Cindy. I remember you from last year.
Pardon?
I remember you from last year in Oxford Centre. Any questions? Alicia?
Sydney, you've been such a strong voice for our community. Your productive activism has surely helped so many people. I want us all to imagine being Sydney and imagine being a young adult in this community. And is this your second, third, fourth delegation? Like, really think about this. Like, this is not the norm for the dominant narrative. So I think that you being here is just so powerful, and I'm so grateful, as I'm sure so many people are, who are hugely supported by your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Sydney. Thank you for presentation. So our eighth and final presentation tonight is by Wendy Martin. She will be speaking on the flag bylaw in the June Pride Month.
And you know, this is the thing. It's like, does it stop with the flags, or does this debate extend into like
Your Worship,
special
Mayor Jim
months?
Palmer and councillors, I thank you for the opportunity to express myself here tonight. I am Wendy Martin. I am a resident of Norwich. I've been here for just over 8 years. I am also the PPC candidate of record. I must explain that as well and show who I am, so you know who I am fully. I'm not hiding my candidacy. Okay, I'm just being, oh, sorry. Oh, timer? There we go. Okay, no worries. Don't worry. I'm not taking up 10 minutes. Okay, so I moved here because of this beautiful community that we have here in Norwich. I've been a visitor of Norwich for, well, probably close to 42 years. I've been here since I was 16, visiting my best friend when they moved here to Norwich. And I've always admired the community that they had, the loving, the caring, and the support. Okay, I am here today to speak about the flag bylaw, of which I am in support of, to just fly those government flags. My understanding from the former mayor is there was an agreement already in place with Oxford Pride that they agreed, please, I'm speaking, I didn't comment on yours. Okay, thank you. Okay, so they agreed with Norwich Township would fly just the three flags. The Canada flag, which unites all of us, our Ontario flag, which we are so proud of, and most important, our Norwich flag, which is our community. So why now do we have to have a change? If you agreed once and you've set precedents to this, why shouldn't it continue? I am confused on the pushback. We need to think of our township as a whole, but we cannot display a flag for everything we each support in our community, especially on our community property. When we allow one flag to be flown, you must allow all flags to be flown, or you will be violating all human rights. You cannot just pick and choose which flags to fly. To me, this is the safest way. Rather than to say yes to some and no to others, I would have to say it's like this. Say yes to all flags or no to all flags. It is the fairest and safest way for our community. Many cities and townships across Canada and the United States are making the flag bylaw just to fly government flags.
The pride flag is now trying to be considered as a political flag. And if we go down that area, it's going to be a very, very touchy and difficult situation and sticky mess, I would say. So we have to figure out where this flag stands. For my points, I ask for the option to speak without heckling, as you may not agree with me, and that is all right. I am a strong woman, and I'm not afraid to say my piece. Please allow me my remaining time to speak. I may not agree with the choices of the LGBTQ community on a personal views, but it's not my place to put my views onto others or vice versa when it comes to adult decision-making. I have my Christian views as my personal morals and values, and I am by far not perfect, just like each person is not perfect. I do have the same right of freedom of expression as each Canadian does. What is done in private is your own business, same as mine. I am perfectly allowed to pray, and I do not have the right to judge others. This is not my place. This is God's place. You do not have to believe as I do. We have freedom of religion along with freedom of thought. When it comes to things we disagree on, we are allowed to have our own opinions. I will respect yours, and you should respect mine. It is the honest and right thing to do to be inclusive. I do have a nephew who is gay and a drag queen. I love him very much with all my heart. He knows my views of his lifestyle choices. I have a great nephew who is gender confused, so I understand that struggle too as a family member and the support that we have to give him. I would also like to address an issue, what this flag represents to me in my personal opinion. I did ask the mayor to add this one extra paragraph for the councillors to know. Okay, are they trying to remove the word woman and make the adult human female be less than what we are? Women have fought hard over the past 100 plus years to make sure we have the same equal rights. And I know the fight was strong and is strong to ensure the same for the LGBTQ community. They also fought for these rights too. Don't take my rights away as a woman and to be able to have the word woman and to be proud of that. We all have the same equal rights as a human being here in Canada. Women, LGBTQ community, Indigenous, and many more. We're all the same. I do believe we need to accept each other, who we are, and not put labels on each other. We fought hard for years to make sure we remove stereotyping individuals. If we start to segregate people, we are moving backwards instead of forwards. Now, I did see something that was amended on the agenda with the flag motion. And I just wanted to note to council that on, I believe it was July the 11th, 2022, the BIA had an emergency meeting, which I was at, and they made a motion about hanging the flags and putting them back up every June. I would like to make you take a look at that motion.
There, now it's unmuted. Sorry. We're going to pull out of that. I wanted to give you a taste of the discussion, and you got it a little bit from both sides of the issue. But the motion did pass 3-2 with Mayor Jim Palmer breaking the tie. So other than government flags, the only other banners allowed to be installed on township streetlight poles are those promoting downtown businesses or for downtown beautification. So as I say, this was a full house, very controversial. People packed the place. Well-behaved crowd, though, which is good to see. And this was in Norwich Township. This has divided the people of that area. It's not far from the city of London, Ontario. And as I say, this issue or related issues, if not already in your community, it will be coming to a town hall near you too. I guarantee it. It is the latest thing, the issue of the moment. This is what everyone seems to be very focused on, and it is rising to the surface everywhere. Even in Montana, where Zooey Zephyr is a House representative there. She's openly transgender. And they had introduced proposed legislation against gender-affirming care for transgender youth. And Zooey Zephyr stood in the House and spoke against the motion. And in that address, Zooey Zephyr said, quote, conservative lawmakers would have, quote, blood on their hands if the bill was passed. I have a copy of that address right here. Let's play that for you so you can hear exactly what was said. This was on April 20th, and there's a new development on this story fresh tonight. So we'll play this for you first.
Care that saves our lives. It's coming from someone whose amendments are going to make it harder to access that care. The bill says it does not prohibit social affirmations. That's not necessarily true. It prohibits the use of state buildings for advocating for or allowing social transitioning. It says that it allows the access to psychotherapy that treat Montanans struggling with their gender identity. If you disallow the use of the medical care that is accepted by every major medical association, if you disallow that care and don't allow people to have access to that, the only therapy left is either A, meaningless, or B, conversion therapy, which is torture. And the only thing I will say is if you vote yes on this bill and yes on these amendments, I hope the next time there's an invocation, when you bow your heads in prayer, you see the blood on your hands. We need act.
Okay, so that was the statement on the House floor that got her into hot water. It was the blood on your hands part that they are using against Zooey Zephyr. And the House Republicans is looking for an apology. For days now, Zooey Zephyr has been prevented from participating from the House floor. And tonight, Zooey Zephyr has been censured. And that means that she is being disciplined heavily, essentially now being prohibited from participating in activities on the House floor. This was just prior to the vote on disciplinary action for Zooey Zephyr. And this is making international headlines tonight. Let me bring this up for you. Let's listen to some of what Zooey Zephyr had to say today on the House floor.
It is my honor today, as with every day in this body, to rise on behalf of my constituents in House District 100 from Missoula, Montana, who elected me to be their representative in the People's House. Today, I rise in defense of those constituents, of my community, and of democracy itself. Last week, I spoke on the governor's amendments to Senate Bill 99, which banned gender-affirming care. This was a bill that was one of many targeting the LGBTQ community in Montana. This legislature has systematically attacked that community. We have seen bills targeting our art forms, our books, our history, and our healthcare. And I rose up in defense of my community that day, speaking to harms that these bills bring and that I have firsthand experience knowing about. I have had friends who have taken their lives because of these bills. I have fielded calls from families in Montana, including one family whose trans teenager attempted to take her life while watching a hearing on one of the anti-trans bills. And in that hearing, our caucus pleaded with the Republican chair of the Judiciary Committee to not allow certain testimony, to keep decorum. And we were told a lot of people have a lot of opinions on these things. So when I rose up and said, there is blood on your hands, I was not being hyperbolic. I was speaking to the real consequences of the votes that we as legislators take in this body. And when the speaker asks me to apologize, what he is, on behalf of decorum, what he is really asking me to do is be silent when my community is facing bills that get us killed. He is asking me to be complicit in this legislature's eradication of our community, and I refuse to do so, and I will always refuse to do so. I would also say that if you use decorum to silence people who hold you accountable, then in the name of all you are doing is using decorum as a tool of oppression. Additionally, when the speaker disallowed me to speak, what he was doing is taking away the voices of the 11,000 Montanans who elected me to speak on their behalf. And when I continued to not be recognized, what my constituents in my community did is came here and said, that is our voice in this body. Let her speak. Let her speak. And when the speaker gavelled down the people demanding that democracy work, demanding that their representative be heard, when he gavelled down, what he was doing is driving a nail in the coffin of democracy. But you cannot kill democracy that easily. And that is why they kept chanting, let her speak. And why I raised my microphone to amplify their voices, to make sure that the people who elected me here are heard. And that when this body seeks to pass bills that harm our community, that get us killed, that this body is held accountable for those actions. I'm not sure what comes next here, but what I will say is I will do what I have always done. I will rise in support of my community. I will take the hard and moral choice and stand up in defense of the people who elected me to do so and the people in our communities. And I will say I'm grateful for those who stood up in defense of democracy on Monday. And I will also say that I hear everyone. I hear my constituents. I hear your constituents.
1 minute.
Who say thank you for standing up. And while there were comments about safety, I would say that the protest was peaceful. And I would also say that when we talk safety, we think about the safety that our bills bring or don't bring. Because you say there was staff endangered, but I know in this building, in the quiet hallways when it's just me, the staff come up to me and they say thank you. They say thank you for defending our community because they have loved ones who these bills attack, who these bills hurt. I will always stand up for them, and I will always, no matter what happens today, stand up for democracy in the state of Montana. Thank you.
So that bill, if passed, the Youth Health Protection Act, would restrict the use of hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and surgeries on people under the age of 18 for the purposes of gender transitioning. And that, again, I think gives you a pretty good taste of what the discussion has been like, what the debate has been like, what the protests have been like. And there was a large protest outside After Zooey Zephyr was prohibited from participating back after her statement on the 20th. And now, Zooey Zephyr fully reprimanded, censured by Montana House Republicans tonight. Voted 68-32 in favor of censuring Zephyr, who is now barred from participating from the House floor for her statement saying that lawmakers there would have blood on their hands if they proceeded with the approval on SB 99. And the bill has passed and is now on the desk of Governor Greg Gianforte, who has signaled he is in support of the legislation. So as I say, if it passes fully, if it gets the stamp of approval from him, then that is going to be the new law of the land in Montana. Don't go away. I will be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, and we could use your support for sure. If you'd like to support the channel, you can donate at freedomreporters.com. Freedomreporters.com takes you to the PayPal page. You can also donate through GiveSendGo. That's always another option. The Super Chat's no longer available, fully demonetized off YouTube. You can, however, donate over on Rumble using the Rumble Rants option over there. And if you haven't subscribed over on Rumble, please consider doing that. That would be extremely helpful. We are growing over there, and we are going to be presenting more Rumble-only content in the future as we transition away as much as possible from censorship platforms. We do, of course, appreciate the reach that we have on YouTube and don't want to abandon the viewers that we have on YouTube. We have a lot of subscribers. But the reality is what the reality is. Now, I remember I told you that this issue about LGBTQS plus rights would be visiting a town hall near you, well, also a school board. And tonight in the community of, I believe it is York. So this is the York Catholic District School Board meeting tonight. And here's a clip of the mayhem there because of a plan to raise the pride flag at the school board.
Four-year-olds say that they're born, they might be born in the wrong.
They're calling police.
About the children that want these things. This piece of shit's enjoying this. How come we don't keep you on the talk? We like it. I'm not.
The devil incarnate! The devil! Shame! 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 Shame!
You guys are racist. We can race. It's just happening. 4-year-olds say that they're born, they might be born in the wrong. And you know what? You guys aren't even caring about the children that want these things.
Yeah. Everybody's fighting. Well, not everybody. Everybody there. It's the story that just keeps on coming. Tonight, also, the federal government in Canada making big changes, or proposing big changes to the federal sex offender registry. Here's the Justice Minister, David Lametti.
Si nous voulons véritablement traiter les victimes et les personnes survivantes avec dignité et respect lors du processus judiciaire, nous devons leur donner le pouvoir de prendre leurs décisions, de prendre des décisions qui leur conviennent. Which brings me to Bill S-12. What does this legislation do? First, it responds to the Supreme Court of Canada and Clouthub decision that I mentioned earlier. And second, it addresses important recommendations made by the Justice Committee in its report, Improving Support for Victims of Crime, a report that builds on years of advocacy from victims groups. I will begin with the Supreme Court decision. Last October, the Supreme Court struck down 2 criminal code provisions related to the National Sex Offender Registry regime. It found that requiring all offenders to be automatically registered on the registry to be unconstitutional. The court also found that making it mandatory for certain offenders to be put on the registry for life is inconsistent with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Supreme Court gave Parliament a firm 1-year deadline to respond to the decision regarding automatic registration. This means that unless Parliament passes this bill by October 28th, 2023, no new names can be added to the registry. In light of that, I trust that all my parliamentary colleagues share my commitment to making sure that this situation does not happen. Canadians expect us to work together and quickly to preserve the National Sex Offender Registry by passing Bill S-12. Globalement, le but des amendements est de protéger le public des agressions sexuelles.
So there's another hot button issue. And Justice Minister addressing that today. Now, also still in Canada, before we move away from the Great White North, I'm going to take you to Ottawa again, this time to hear the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, sing. Yes. You wait, you watch. Pierre Poilievre is going to sing for you, just like Frank Sinatra. Here we go. Coming up.
Oral questions, question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Selon nos services de renseignement.
According to our intelligence services, the dictatorship in Beijing gave $140,000 to the Trudeau Foundation. The reason for the donation was to influence the Liberal leader, who is also Prime Minister, who is now Prime Minister. Alexander Trudeau is the one who facilitated this donation from China. Had it been anyone else, we would have called them to Parliament to answer questions. So, will the Prime Minister support a motion to call Alexander Trudeau to appear before a parliamentary committee to answer questions about this donation, which sought to influence the Prime Minister? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as I've said many times in this House, For 10 years, I've had no direct or indirect ties to the foundation, which bears my father's name. As for committee, the member knows full well that committees decide independently who will appear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister takes Canadians for fools. He really thinks Canadians are going to believe that he has no ties to the Trudeau Foundation? Trudeau Foundation donors pay for his vacation. His own brother facilitated and signed off on a donation from China to the foundation, a donation whose goal was to influence the Prime Minister. So if the Prime Minister is speaking the truth and has nothing to hide, will he then support a motion to call Alexander Trudeau to appear before a parliamentary committee to answer questions? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Don't worry, the song's coming.
I've already answered this question. As everyone here knows, for 10 years now, I've had no direct or indirect involvement with the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. So we should ask ourselves, though, why the Conservatives insist on spending their time attacking me and my family rather than talking about the budget, for instance, rather than talking about issues Canadians are dealing with every day. We here on this side are here to support Canadians through our grocery rebate, through dental care support, through our initiatives and programs which will help Canadians right away. The Leader of the Opposition. This bureaucracy, though, costs $20 billion more a year. That translates to $1,300 per Canadian family in additional costs because of the government's spending. And what are they getting for all this spending? Fewer services. Public servants are striking. Taxpayers can't even get answers to their questions before filing their taxes on Monday. Taxpayers are not receiving services in exchange for their money. So should taxpayers themselves declare a strike? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, unlike the Conservative Party, on this side of the House, we support workers. We support unions in the important work that they do. We know that public servants offer important services to Canadians. The government values their work, especially during the past few years, which have been difficult. That's why we're working around the clock to reach a deal that will be fair for public servants and reasonable for taxpayers. We will continue to make sure that everyone at the bargaining table takes their works seriously, and we will solve this issue the right way. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
A bureaucracy that costs $20 billion more per year. That's $1,300 per Canadian family, a 50% increase. And for what? For immigration services not being delivered, for veterans who can't get answers to their requests, and now taxpayers who won't be able to get answers to their tax questions before the filing deadline on Monday. Given that Canadian taxpayers are not getting the services they pay for, is it time for them to go on strike as well?
Honourable Prime Minister. We'll take no lessons from the Conservative Party of Canada, whose approach on services to Canadians was to close Veterans Affairs offices, cuts with services to women, to fight with the unions, including with legislation that was anti-union, like 525 and 377, which that member voted in favor of, or furthermore, continuing to put cuts across the board. We've stepped up to support Canadians. Our public service stepped up to help Canadians through the pandemic, and now we're in negotiations to make sure we get the right deal for them and the right deal for Canadians. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This guy is so out of touch. Here we have 150,000 people on strike, the biggest federal strike in Canadian history. Canadians can't get their services. Meanwhile, their housing costs have doubled and crime is ravaging through our streets. And what is he going to do today? Well, start spreading the news. He's leaving today. He wants to be a part of it. New York, New York. Mr. Speaker.
Remind the honourable members that singing is not allowed. Whether it's good or bad, it's not allowed.
These are small-time
blues. They're melting away. I'll make a new start of it in old New York. Mr. Speaker, I can't sing very well, but at least I pay for my hotel rooms. Will he pay for his hotel costs when he goes to New York tonight?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, over the past number of years, we've spent time across the world promoting Canada, promoting Canadian workers. We've been talking about the leadership on environmental responsibility, the reconciliation with Indigenous people.
I'm going to have to interrupt the Right Honourable Prime Minister. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition's got everyone excited. I just want everybody to calm down, take a deep breath, and listen to the answer, please. The Right Honourable Prime Minister from the top so we can all hear the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over the past number of years, as Canadians know, we've been talking about what we've been doing here in Canada, singing the praises, quite literally, of Canadian workers, of Canadian companies, of Canadian know-how. As we lead on fight against climate change, as we step up on Indigenous reconciliation, as we invest in the middle class with measures like dental care and cuts to the middle class taxes that the Conservatives voted against, and that has led to companies like Volkswagen, like Michelin, like others investing in Canada because they see what we're doing. We will continue to promote Canada and Canadian workers right across the country.
$13 billion for Volkswagen. The government's coughing up. Anyway, holy Toledo. That's all I can say about that. That is a lot of coin. And references made there to the ongoing federal workers' strike in Canada. And not everybody is happy with the federal workers. I'm not sure that they have much public support. They were on Parliament Hill. They're focusing on Ottawa and Parliament Hill as, a main battleground, essentially. That's where they're bringing a lot of protesters there, a lot of picketers to put pressure on the government to negotiate. And the talks have basically broken down. 13.5%. That's what they're looking for. There's been no progress on that front at all, according to the union leadership. And now the talks are basically stalled. And the public seems to be pretty much fed up. I don't think they have much public support at all. So tonight, I do have an example of what I'm talking about, ready to roll here. Here's a little video from social media, just to reinforce what I'm talking about here. Hang on.
With the fucking CR, why not
Watch
stand
the language. Plug your ears if you're easily offended. Here we go.
Why not stand in solidarity with the fucking CRA members, etc.? You know why? Because they're fighting for themselves. They're not fighting for Canadians. They're fighting for more money in their pockets from the backs of Canadians. Canadians pay their wages already. Why are they asking the government for further handouts? They should be asking the people. Do you know why they don't ask the people? Because they don't work for the people. They work against the goddamn people. That's why we are not standing up in solidarity with the government workers. Okay? Now, if these people wanted to have our support, they ought to have provided us with the very same support. But they did not. They chose to sit idly by and either accept the spoon-fed narrative or deny the spoon-fed narrative, but stay a neutral party, which is fine. You stay a neutral party all you want, whatever, good for you. But here we are. Here we are. You on the picket lines with your porta potties and Canadians being pissed off about it. You don't deserve more money. You deserve less money. You deserve less money because I'm paying you to take my money away. CRA, fucking assholes. Like, who do you think you are?
CRA is Canada
Who exactly
Revenue
do you
Agency,
think you
by the
are
way,
that you are
tax.
entitled to have more of my money to take more of my money? You guys already know how much Canadians make. You know how much Canadians pay in taxes. You know that our taxes go to your pockets. Instead of asking for more for you, maybe you should be asking for less from us. But here you are, taking your time off from doing what we need done, or we get arrested, we get fined. Go and do your fucking job. Go back to work. It's a privilege. Your job is a privilege. No, your job is a right. But you know what is a privilege? A high fucking salary. That's why I'm not standing in solidarity with you.
There you have it. Yeah. Canadian federal workers, they're pretty well paid. No question about it. And it isn't just the high wages, it's the generous pension plan, the generous vacation allotments. All of that is what just kind of sticks kind of right there for taxpayers. You know, I know some people who work for the federal government. They're fine people. Nothing personal. I hope you understand. It's just you are a privileged class in Canada. It's just the reality of the situation, folks. It just is. Stay with me. Going to queue up our next story. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yesterday, President Biden announced that he was absolutely going to run for re-election. I called it a sleepy campaign launch. Pretty low key. That's even the way mainstream media was describing it. That's what it was. It was certainly low key, just like the campaign that got him elected with more votes than any president in history, 80 million plus votes. But it was low key. I said, that doesn't seem normal to me. Doesn't seem normal at all. It was an announcement that came by way of a pre-produced slick little video, a campaign video. We ran it for you yesterday, but today, finally, he got around to actually making a public speech. We have it queued up. Here's a little taste of that tonight.
Let's go, Joe! Let's go, Joe!
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I think I'll stop right there. Take a seat if you have one. Hello, building trades, and thank you, President and my friend Sean McGarvey. You've been a friend of mine for a long time, as many of you have. I wouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't have been elected to the United States Senate in the state that was a right-to-work state initially, were it not for American union labor. You know, I learned a long time ago, there's labor and there's unions. Unions. And I want to congratulate my former Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh. You guys know Marty. I tell you what, if you have to be in a foxhole, you want Marty next to you. You want Marty with you. He's a man of his word. And the problem is he knows more than you do, more than I do. Lifetime Achievement Award, but you got a whole other lifetime to work out here, Marty. And you may be carrying a hockey stick these days, but I'm still coming for you, man. Thank you all for your continued support of Julie Sue. She worked hand in hand with Marty, and she's going to be a great Secretary of Labor. So good to see you guys. This feels like coming home, you know? Well, you know, I'm here because there's no better place to talk about the progress we've made together. It wouldn't have been made without you, and that's not hyperbole. That's a fact.
And that's not hyperbole.
Our economic plan is working.
It's not hyperbole.
We now have to finish the job, but there's more to do. And you're leading the way. Shovels in the ground, cranes in the air, factories opening, all those jobs, meaning we created. The IBEW jobs, iron workers, Boilermakers, Teamsters, laborers, bricklayers, masons, plumbers and pipe fitters, painters, plasterers, roofers, operating engineers, steel and metal workers. My economic plan, as McGarvey said, is blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America, and that's what we're doing, rebuilding America. I make no apologies. I make no apologies for being labeled the most pro-union president in American history. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. I really am.
Really? Oh, really? He's really proud of it. Really, he is. That's not hyperbole either.
Oh.
Come on, man.
I really mean it.
He really means it. He really, really does.
Oh.
Means it so much, he tells you he really means it like 4 or 5 times, every time.
I tell business leaders all the time, I mean it sincerely.
He does, he means it.
Business round
really, really means it.
Union workers
and that's not hyperbole.
Are their saviors. You're the best, not a joke.
It's not a joke
You're the
either.
Best workers in the world.
Yeah, because he really means it. It's not a joke.
When one of the South Korean
He's not joking.
was going to invest in the United
and it's
States,
certainly not hyperbole.
Ask him why, the CEO. He said, because you got the best workers in the world.
And he means it too.
You're the best workers in the world. That's not hyperbole.
It's not hyperbole.
You know,
that's not hyperbole.
4 years to train to be as an apprentice.
It's not malarkey either.
About that because people don't understand that.
They don't
understand. In order to become a
they just don't understand.
Member,
yeah,
you got to go through an apprentice process.
It's not hyperbole, and he really, 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 really means it. He really does. He means it. He's serious. And you know what else isn't hyperbole? Putting nuclear weapons into South Korea. Yeah, Biden is sending nuclear subs to South Korea. He had a news conference today with President Yoon of Korea. And where did we go with that one? Here we are. Let's bring that up, shall we? Let's just run a little bit of this. There we go.
And for the benefit, I think, of both our peoples. Today's no exception. Our nation's relationship has been a great success story. The alliance formed in war and has flourished in peace. Seemingly every day, we've launched new areas of cooperation on cyber, strategic technologies, space, democracy, and all the areas that matter most to our future. Because of its core, our alliance is about building a better future for all of our people. And there's no better example than our economic relationship and partnership, which is delivering incredible benefits to both our nations. Through the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, we're advancing economic growth grounded in high standards for our workers, for the environment, and for communities throughout the region. We're standing together against economic influence being leveraged in coercive ways. And since I took office, Korean companies have invested more than $100 billion in the United States, driving innovation and spurring good new jobs for Americans and Korean workers. Our mutual defense treaty is ironclad, and that includes our commitment to extended deterrence, and that includes the nuclear threat and nuclear deterrent. They're particularly important in the face of DPRK's increased threats and a blatant violation of U.S. sanctions. At the same time, we continue to seek serious and substantial diplomatic breakthroughs with the DPRK to bolster stability on the peninsula, reduce the threat of proliferation, and address our humanitarian and human rights concerns for the people of the DPRK. The Republic of Korea and the United States are working together, including through our trilateral cooperation with Japan, to ensure the future of the Indo-Pacific is free, is open, prosperous, and secure. I want to thank you again, Mr. President, for your political courage and personal commitment to diplomacy with Japan. I've worked on these issues for a long time, and I can tell you it makes an enormous difference when we all pull together. I also welcome and support your administration's new Indo-Pacific strategy. It's a strategy that affirms how aligned our two nations are and our visions of the region and how similar they are. Today, we discussed our work together on promoting peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits, ensuring freedom of navigation in the South China Sea and beyond. Excuse me. I also affirmed our shared commitment. We together shared our firm shared commitment to stand with the people of Ukraine against Russia's brutal assault on their freedom, their territorial integrity, and democracy. The Republic of Korea's strong support for Ukraine is important because Russia's flagrant violation of international law matters to nations everywhere in the world, not just in Europe. When it comes right down to it, it's about what you believe, what you stand for, what kind of future you want for your children and grandchildren. And right now, I believe the world's at an inflection point. The choices we make today, I believe, are going to determine the direction of our world and the future of our kids for decades to come. That's why this partnership is so important, Mr. President, because we share the same values, the same vision. And I greatly appreciate, Mr. President, that the Republic of Korea co-chaired the second Summit on Democracies last month, and they will host the third Summit for Democracies. We both understand that our democracies and our people are our greatest source of strength, and working together, they make our nation stronger and more effective. From tracking the climate crisis and strengthening our effort to fight it and strengthening global health, no two countries are better suited to meet the challenges ahead than the Republic of Korea and the United States. I want to thank you again, Mr. President, for your friendship, your partnership, and all you've done to help build a future of shared strength and success. The floor is yours, Mr. President.
He's coming. Handshake, and here he is.
President Biden, thank you for your special and warm hospitality. I am very pleased to be making a state visit to the United States during this meaningful year that marks the 70th anniversary of the ROC-US alliance. Our two countries have overcome challenges and crises during the past 70 years based on the deep roots of freedom and democracy, building a value alliance that is strong, resilient, and sustainable. We are now being threatened by an unprecedented polycrisis. The ROC-US alliance is jointly overcoming this crisis, also coming from North Korea, as a righteous alliance that contributes to world peace and prosperity. We will further expand the depth and denotation of the ROC-US Global Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and march forward to the future. Today, President Biden and myself engaged in constructive dialogue to discuss ways to materialize this shared vision. The outcome of our dialogue is well outlined in the joint statement adopted today. The first key outcome is extended deterrence. Sustainable peace on the Korean Peninsula does not happen automatically. Our two leaders have decided to significantly strengthen extended deterrence of our two countries against North Korea's nuclear and missile threats so that we can achieve peace through the superiority of overwhelming forces and not a false peace based on the goodwill of the other side. Such a will and commitment is captured in the Washington Declaration. President Biden has reaffirmed his ironclad commitment to extended deterrence towards the Republic of Korea. Our two countries have agreed to immediate bilateral presidential consultations in the event of North Korea's nuclear attack and promised to respond swiftly, overwhelmingly, and decisively using the full force of the alliance, including the United States nuclear weapons. Our two countries have agreed to establish a nuclear consultative group to map out a specific plan to operate the new extended deterrence system. Now, our two countries will share information on nuclear and strategic weapon operations plans in response to North Korea's provocations and have regular consultations on ways to plan and execute joint operations that combine Korea's state-of-the-art conventional forces with the U.S.'s nuclear capabilities, the results of which will be reported to the leaders of our two countries on a regular basis. In addition, our two countries have agreed to further advance tabletop exercises against a potential nuclear crisis. In addition, deployment of the United States strategic assets to the Korean Peninsula will be made constantly and routinely. President Biden and I will continue to cooperate to strengthen extended deterrence between our two countries based on our historical and concrete agreement reached during our summit. Second, our two leaders have agreed to further strengthen the strategic partnership in economic security, which is directly related to the national economies of our two countries. President Biden and I welcomed the expansion of our firm's bilateral mutual investment in advanced technology, including semiconductors, electric vehicles, and batteries. President Biden has said that no special support and considerations will be spared for Korean companies' investment and business activities in particular. We have agreed to consult and coordinate closely so that the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS and Science Act can further strengthen supply chain cooperations between the two countries in advanced technology.
Wow.
Furthermore, we plan on ramping up partnerships in cutting-edge technology. We have agreed to establish a dialogue for next-generation emerging and core technology between the U.S. National Security Council and the Korea Office of National Security pertaining to chips, batteries, biotechnology, quantum science, and other cutting-edge technologies with the aim of promoting joint R&D and experts exchange. We have also adopted a separate joint statement for strengthening cooperation in the rapidly emerging quantum science and technology domain. President Biden and I have also agreed to get the ball rolling on discussions about expanding our alliance into cyber and space by applying the Mutual Defense Treaty in cyberspace and space as well. We have also agreed that the strategic cybersecurity cooperation framework adopted this time around will serve as the foundation on which we address cyber threats together and boost cooperation in information sharing, collection, and analysis. Space is another area that shows great promise for cooperation between our two countries. During my time here, I was able to visit the NASA Goddard Space Center. President Biden welcomed the establishment of CASA, and we have agreed to promote cooperation between CASA and NASA. We have also agreed to accelerate discussions on reaching a reciprocal defense procurement agreement, which is equivalent to an FTA in terms of national defense. Meanwhile, President Biden and I have agreed to promote exchange between the future generations of our two countries. To this end, we have launched the U.S. ROK Special Exchange Initiative for Youths. In celebration of the 70th anniversary of the ROK-US Alliance this year, our two countries plan to invest a total of $60 million to support exchanges between 2,023 youths majoring in STEM, humanities, and social sciences. This also includes the largest Fulbright program to date, which will provide scholarships for 200 students. Last but not least, President Biden and I have agreed that South Korea and the United States, as key partners in achieving stability and building peace in the Indo-Pacific region, will put our heads together as we implement our Indo-Pacific strategies to strengthen our cooperation in addressing regional and global challenges.
So what are you looking at there? What are we hearing, really? This is fifth generation warfare on full display. Every aspect of what they're talking about checks off the boxes for different elements of the kind of war that is being fought globally right now. World War III. Economic war, information war, cyber warfare, cyber attacks. They're talking about cybersecurity. The Inflation Reduction Act, trade agreements, all of it being driven by government in a time of war. Debt spending. The Inflation Reduction Act, the efforts to repatriate the chip industry to the United States, that's a strategic thing as well. Making sure that the United States is not vulnerable on the computer chip front, which it was. That was revealed during the pandemic. The auto industry in particular was severely affected by that, producing vehicles that they couldn't sell because they couldn't get the chips to finish the production of the vehicles. So they had all these cars, trucks, SUVs that just didn't run, sitting in storage waiting for the chips. That's an economic vulnerability. And then those nuclear subs, going to park those nukes in South Korea and point them at North Korea. Escalating the tensions on yet another front. So we have this ongoing conflict in Ukraine. We have rising tensions with China over Taiwan. Now, escalation on the Korean front by strategically placing those subs there. Could you imagine if North Korea were to park nuclear subs say, off the coast of Newfoundland in Canada, if Canada were to accept them there? Or how about if they were to sail down the St. Lawrence Seaway all the way down to Lake Erie and then just park at Point Pelee, the southernmost tip of Canada? Just put a few subs there with nukes so close to the United States that you can almost see Michigan over the horizon. What do you think the United States would do? Or off the coast of Mexico, even? Now, we know that the Russians have subs and they're probably off the coast of the United States all the time. But to just blatantly park them there like that, could you imagine? And do it in a very public fashion. Announce it. That is just like the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again. Think about it, folks. And yet today, this being announced in sort of a casual fashion, it's no big deal. This is what we're doing. And then we'll just go on and talk about our trade deal. You think that doesn't escalate things with North Korea? A country that was rattling the sabers before, calmed down when Trump was in office. Trump went to visit North Korea. That was historic. And now, this. Oh my! And Biden sits there and says that he wants to finish the job. Vote for me, he says. And he used the word peace today in that address to those union leaders. And it's been anything but peaceful over the past 2+ years with him sitting in the White House. The first thing they did when the Biden administration took over was go to war, basically, and screw up Afghanistan's withdrawal. I would say it looks like incompetence, but it's just beyond incompetent. It has to be intentional. The blood. You talk about Zooey Zephyr saying you got blood on your hands. You're going to have blood on your hands. And she is censured for that. You want to talk about blood on your hands? The Biden administration has done nothing but plunge the U.S. into even deeper debt, create an artificial, fake, phony economy, and lead the world into a third world war. And a new form of war, to be sure, but a third world war, no question about it. We're in it. Tomorrow night, Ian Nunn will join us here on the program. He has been doing a lot of research into this new kind of warfare. He has been working on an extensive article regarding this, and he's going to join us on the program to discuss that. But more than that, also the spiritual aspects of the war. The spiritual war that we're facing, which comes full circle to what we've been talking about earlier in the broadcast. The pride flag, the progress pride flag, LGBTQ plus rights, abortion, morality, God, godlessness, replacing God with the state, satanic symbolism. We touched on all of that over Christmas during our special Satanic Christmas broadcast. And he'll bring new perspective to all of that tomorrow evening. You want to talk about Satanism? It'll be in there. We saw earlier this week Rhonda Jubinville, counselor, who introduced that motion on the flag issue in my hometown. And what did she find on her desk when she sat down earlier this week for the vote on the issue? A card from the Satanic Temple. Someone had donated to the Satanic Temple in her name. And in the message printed on the card, they expressed gratitude for the donation because it allowed the abortion clinic that operates there through the Satanic Temple to continue its work. Many would view that as child sacrifice. But back to South Korea, back to the Inflation Reduction Act, back to the economy, back to Justin Trudeau. Here's the Prime Minister. Let me just cue this up. Here's the Prime Minister talking about that $13 billion government promise to Volkswagen so they can build one of the, what will be the world's largest, or one of the world's largest, electric vehicle battery plants in St. Thomas, Ontario, also not very far from here.
Great news. Canada will be home to Volkswagen's new massive electric vehicle battery factory. This factory is a major win for Canada and a real vote of confidence in Canadian workers. Thousands upon thousands of jobs here in Ontario and right across the economy as we build up our critical minerals and battery supply chains. But Volkswagen isn't the only big company looking at what Canadians are doing and taking interest. Whether it's Stellantis, Michelin, ArcelorMittal Dofasco, Rio Tinto, or Honda, we're seeing companies looking to place their investments and their confidence in Canadian workers. Because that's what we're building, a clean economy that works for all Canadians. Over the past years, our Made in Canada plan has been all about that. Leadership on fighting climate change and protecting the environment. Investments in the middle class and people working hard to join it. These are the things that people are looking at to build a stronger future for their companies and for the world. That's where Canadians are stepping up. So as we lead on environment, as we work with Indigenous peoples to build better partnerships, as we move forward on supporting the middle class with things like child
He went back to school.
care and the supports that
That's
really
because he admits he's no good with numbers and he thinks budgets balance themselves. Both admissions
Now, there's
directly
still some
from
people who
the PM
believe
himself.
You have to make a choice between
He went
what's
back
good
to
for
learn
the
a little
environment
basic
and what's good for
math.
the economy. But this announcement today and so many others like it proves how wrong the Conservative leader is. We're going to continue to build an economy that works for all Canadians.
This is a prime minister who also says that you don't need to worry about his taxes because his harmonized sales tax rebate ensures that even though they're taxing you, you get more back than they tax you. And if you believe that, I have an igloo to sell you. Yeah, right here in my hometown. An igloo. $13 billion the government over 10 years is going to give Volkswagen. Not a loan, they're giving it to Volkswagen. Volkswagen will spend $7 billion. We spend as taxpayers $13 billion. It's a record amount of money. And Trudeau says that he has to do that because of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which is also coughing up record amounts of money for companies as an incentive to locate in various parts of the United States. And there were states competing to get that Volkswagen battery plant. So the provincial and federal government stepped up to the plate and they said, we'll write you a check for, how about $13 billion? Would that do it? And it did. We'll be paying for that for a long time. Canadian Taxpayers Federation is not happy. Canada and the U.S. going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. And that Inflation Reduction Act does not do anything to address inflation. It just makes it worse. And the House GOP narrowly passed the bill to raise the debt limit and cut spending, with the White House calling it a ransom. So House Republicans did today pass a bill to increase the debt ceiling while cutting government federal spending. Well, cutting spending, they're still going deeper and deeper into debt. And while the legislation has no prospect of becoming law, GOP leaders hope it will force negotiations with Democrats. The proposal, known as the Limit, Save, Grow Act, passed 217 to 215, with 4 Republicans joining all Democrats in voting no. If enacted, the bill would increase the debt limit by $1.5 trillion, reduce funding for federal agencies to 2022 fiscal year levels, limit growth in government spending to 1% per year, and block various measures backed by the White House, such as federal student debt cancellation and new funding for the Internal Revenue Service. So, Speaker Kevin McCarthy said today, "We cannot sit back and ignore the problem like the president has. I know he does it with the border, and I know he is doing it with the fiscal policy of America. We want to sit down and work together, and that is exactly what this bill does," he said, noting that we are sitting at a $31 trillion level of debt. This proposed debt limit increase would last through March 2024, a shorter extension than preferred by President Joe Biden in exchange for spending cuts and policy changes. And Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, has said that this bill has no chance in his chamber, and the president has vowed to veto it. Democrats have repeatedly insisted the debt ceiling should be raised separate from any compromise on government spending and policy. This is all a bunch of window dressing, folks. It's all just a bunch of political theater. It doesn't mean anything. The Republicans are trying to make it look like they're being fiscally responsible by reducing the amount of spending. In reality, it's just a joke. Because they're raising the debt ceiling. They're going further and further into debt. It's deficit spending with no intention of rolling it back. What people need to understand, which they clearly do not, or maybe they do and don't care, because most people don't really pay attention. And I don't think people do understand economics. They don't understand even what the debt ceiling is, which was originally introduced back during World War I in the U.S. And the politicians say that the reason they raise the debt ceiling is because they say the United States always pays its bills. No, it's actually quite the opposite. They raise the debt ceiling because they don't ever pay their bills. It's a game. It's like a Ponzi scheme. Because where does the money come from? Well, they tax you, but more than that, they just print the money. It's fake. So they print the money, and then through inflation, they end up giving dollars that really aren't worth what they said they were going to be in the beginning to the people that they owe the money to, or the countries. It's a game. $31 trillion. That's how much the United States owes now. I never thought when I was younger that I would ever see anything like that. Debt with a T on the end, or at the beginning, rather, of the word, not a B, a T, not billion, trillion. 31T, $31 trillion. Not 31B, billion, trillion. $31 trillion. How are they going to pay that off? They're not going to. They're just not going to pay. Oh, they'll cough up money by going further and further into debt every single year. And they keep on raising it over and over and over again. Not because they pay their bills, but because they don't. It's like a credit card that you never pay off and have no intention of ever paying off. And instead of paying it off when you hit the max, what you do is you go back to the credit card company and you say, you know, I really don't have any intention of paying this off. Could you just increase my credit card limit, please? Oh, yes, of course. We'd love to do that. We'll just increase the credit limit. Don't bother paying this card off ever. Just keep on spending. That's fine. We'll just increase the credit limit. How's that? That's what they're doing. The debt ceiling effectively represents the national credit card. They've maxed it out. So they just went for a higher limit. They applied for a credit card limit increase. And they got approved. Because who approves it? They do. They approve it themselves. How do they know they're good for the money? Because they control the printing press and they have the world reserve currency. So they just print more money. But wait a minute, more money, more of anything means that increased supply means there's less value. Supply and demand. Increase the supply of anything and the value goes down. So they print more money, it's worth less. So when they take out debt or buy things with borrowed money and then later can't afford to pay it off, and then they increase the debt limit and then they print more money and then they pay the money to the people that they owed with money that they just printed out of thin air. Actually, what they're doing is they're giving the people that they borrowed the money from initially less than the original value of the goods that they purchased. And countries are beginning to figure this out, countries like China and India and Saudi Arabia and Russia, all the BRICS nations, South African countries. And that's why the US dollar is in trouble. And that is what's going on in the world of economics on this 26th day of April, 2023. Don't go away. I've got more right after this.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so Brendan sent me something, and I want to share that with you because it's actually pretty interesting. This is AFRU, which is, just let me make sure I get the name of this correct. It is the Africa Renewal University. And what is it? It's a Black-led and majority Black-owned startup that combines fashion and streetwear with lifestyle commentary to create a strong social justice brand that is relative and attractive to folks from all walks of life. We believe in the power of fashion to spark meaningful conversations, as well as the other way around. We also realize that people don't want to be preached to all the time. That's why our imprint magazine stitches together light everyday topics with navigation of more difficult intersectional spaces, all while allowing for the kind of messiness that is part of human nature. Our visual and intellectual branding, therefore, nurture each other in a perpetual spiral of trend-setting justice. Pretty fancy words, very well written. Well, why am I showing this to you? Because of this article. This I found very interesting, and I'm just getting into it here for the first time with you, but look at this headline. It says, how do we prevent discrimination against the vaccinated? Isn't that interesting? Not the unvaccinated, the vaccinated. How do we prevent discrimination against the vaccinated? So here's this article by the AFRU staff, which reads, they trusted the science. Because of their bravery, they survived COVID. Now experts are sounding the alarm about an emerging new threat vector, a virulent hate movement targeting vaccinated folks. The script has flipped. I told you the world's gone insane. Or maybe this sanity is being regained. I don't know how you want to look at this, but the article continues and says, as the world begins to recover from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, experts are sounding the alarm about an emerging new threat vector, an actual hate movement targeting vaccinated folks. In unmoderated and far-right extremist havens like 4chan and Rumble, anti-vaxxers calling themselves purebloods are now openly flaunting their hatred towards those who took the shot by gloating about their supposed early vaccine-related deaths. A totally debunked conspiracy theory, heavily adjacent to Q beliefs. This new breed of anti-vaxxer doesn't bother to feign much of an illusion of being the good guy. They spend their time spreading vile misinformation about the clot shots, in quotation marks, directly to the vaccinated, hoping to induce anxiety and terror in the very people who chose to protect themselves and their communities. Even major influencers are getting in on the bullying. Here's a tweet from Andrew Tate, says, I never forgave mask wearers, never forgave vax takers. I stopped speaking to people for life. Anyone who's easily tricked is dangerous to have inside of your inner circle. They're the weak point for corruption and failure, pure bloods only. The article continues and says anti-vax hatred is increasingly also spilling over into real life, with reports coming out of vaccinated individuals being shunned and ostracized or even targeted with harassing taunts. Some have even lost their jobs or faced other forms of institutional discrimination as anti-vaxxers in positions of power want to play out some kind of sick and childish game of tit for tat. It goes on and identifies what they're calling the falsehood of reverse discrimination. They're looking for also here, I guess, a path to healing, which continues with this. It says, so how do we prevent discrimination against the vaccinated as the world heals from the worst pandemic since the Black Death? One solution is to continue to educate the public and in particular children about the safety and effectiveness of the health measures that were taken to combat the virus, dispelling myths and misinformation in future generations before they have time to germinate is crucial in combating the rise of future hate movements built on misinformation. We also need businesses and organizations to recognize their responsibility in taking a stand against all forms of discrimination and to establish policies that protect vaccinated individuals from the whims or taunts of the unvaccinated. This includes requiring proof of vaccination to access areas likely to contain vaccinated workers and taking action against any individuals who engage in any level of hate speech. And it goes on and even makes reference to the mass trucker attack. Let me read this. It is also crucial for government and health officials to continue to promote the importance of vaccination and to make the vaccines and boosters widely and freely available to all. Everyone must receive the opportunity to be immunized and boosted against the virus. The more effectively we ensure this social good, the better we can reduce the number of unvaccinated bodies who might otherwise fester into a more coordinated political movement built on resentment. So am I reading that right? They want to get more people vaccinated so that they can't join the political movement, which is united or at least works against government mandated vaccinations. It goes on and says initiatives such as vaccine passports can also limit the logistics and coordination of potential harmful terroristic activities like the mass trucker attack in Canada. Wow. So vaccine passports would limit the logistics and coordination of protests like the trucker, and they call it an attack. Holy cow. What a different point of view. Discrimination against the vaccinated is a harmful and destructive force that hinders the progress of our society by targeting the very best among us for ostracization and marginalization. Ultimately, preventing discrimination against the vaccinated requires a collective effort from all of us. We must stand up against hate and work together to cherish and protect the good and altruistic among us who chose to protect themselves and their communities. Wow. Well, there's a point of view for you. The vaccine passports, according to them, are required, needed, desperately needed to prevent coordinated political movements from protesting against government mandated anything. Wow. Holy smokes. Well, I don't even know. Wow. No concerns in there about constitutional rights, right to assembly, right to bodily autonomy. No concerns about any of that. Not in that article, not in that opinion piece written by the AFRU staff. Wow. We ain't out of this yet, folks. Not by a long shot. I shall return.
Fear not the storm, for truth is on our side. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And it just keeps on a-coming. How about this article? Also in the same vein as what we started with tonight. A high schooler went viral for violating prom dress code by wearing a suit. This on Yahoo Life. Says prom season is here and teens all over the country are posting photos of their looks. For some, like 18-year-old B. Hayes, dress codes have gotten in the way of what should be a special occasion. So Hayes is a senior at Nashville Christian School in Tennessee. This article talks about this post that was made where Hayes is posing in front of the venue that hosted this person's senior prom. Hayes holds up a cardboard sign with the words, "They wouldn't let me in because I'm in a suit." In the caption, Hayes writes, "I should not have to conform to femininity to attend my senior prom. I will not compromise who I am to fit in a box. Who are you to tell us what it means to be a woman?" The photo has been liked nearly 20,000 times, and thousands of commenters showed support for the teen. And here's a quote. "BW, didn't Jesus wear a gown and sandals?" one user wrote. And another said, "Distinctly feminine apparel. Wonder if he was locked out of his prom too. Another wrote, "You are seen and loved." Well, one chimed in, "Ain't no hate like Christian love." Needless to say, I think it's pretty clear, if you haven't already figured this out, that Yahoo News is a pretty left-wing news organization. There's the photo. On Instagram. I don't know. You guys can make of that what you will. But like I said, it just keeps on a-coming. Just keeps on coming. What else did I have for you tonight? As we, I want to make sure we get through as many of these stories that I teed up for you earlier today. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I keep trying to get to this, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it now. It's not super fresh, but if you haven't heard about this, Windsor, Ontario, Canada, has been named the Karen capital of the country. There it is. Windsor named the Karen capital of Canada. There's an online report about this. There's a little graphic that has been made up as well. Mainstream media picked up on this. It's been a good topic of conversation during morning drive time and during some talk shows on radio. So the online casino report says Windsor had 64.83 Karen reports per 100,000 households. And these reports, of course, posted on social media. The next highest number of Karen posts from a city in Kanakistan was in Victoria, BC, with just 15.86 per 100,000 households. No other city in the country scored above 14. So Windsor, Ontario, far and away the most woke city in the country, at least in terms of Karens. So there was research done, I guess, which consists of basically a survey of over 1,800 people in the U.S. and Canada to see where the Karens of the world were mentioned most. They also gathered some data on the worst Karen behaviors and whether the Karen persona crosses generations and genders. And it found that 78% have witnessed what is called Karen behavior from a man, and 46% have seen similar behavior from a member of Gen Z. So this report goes on and says that the top Karen habit was inordinate complaining. 82% of respondents confirmed that they had, at one time or another, witnessed a Karen complaining needlessly and endlessly. I'm sure that many of you can relate.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
Okay, so Lori was running this poll again for the second time to see who people would vote for president. And the choices were Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or other, right? So she was saying that, the first time around, the votes stopped at a certain point people kept voting, but their votes weren't actually being registered. So she kind of saw evidence that the process was being manipulated, or something had gone wrong, or something like that. I think you're kind of getting the picture here. Talk about a rigged, you know what. So the votes are all in. The problem is some of the votes that came in are not actually being counted again. At least that's what Lori is suggesting here. She's saying that some of the votes just disappeared. She says, how did votes simply disappear from a poll that had 1,603 votes a few hours ago? And now there are 1,582. And who came out on top? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., 48%, Donald Trump, 33%, Joe Biden, 4%, other, undecided, 15%. Yeah. Interesting. I'm not sure how scientific that is. Any of these Twitter polls, I don't think they're entirely scientific, but I think it shows you that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. probably does have a shot. If he can overcome the big blue Democrat machine and secure the nomination, I think he actually would have a shot at becoming president. It's the internal politics that really stands in his way, because I think he is a man of the people, and I think he does, or would, or will, or could have a huge amount of support. The problem is RFK doesn't appear to have much support among the establishment, the elites, the social media gurus, or the social media controllers, social media companies, because Lori has run into another problem. Her YouTube channel has been banned for 90 days. And what can I show you here? I can show you why. If I can find it again. There we are. So why? She had a video up about RFK Jr. And they banned her channel for 90 days. The reason, cited by YouTube, medical misinformation. YouTube doesn't allow claims about COVID-19 vaccinations that contradict expert consensus from local health authorities or the World Health Organization. So she had RFK All the Way podcast episode 1, and bam, 90-day ban. Censorship. That's how serious they are about it on YouTube, man. And I didn't hear the broadcast. If I don't know what could have been said, I have no idea. I'm just telling you that that is what happened. That's what was that is what was decided, and it looks like it was appealed, but the appeal was rejected. The media landscape is absolutely changing in this country, and rapidly, and in the United States. And you're seeing that with Fox News parting ways with Dan Bongino, and now with Tucker Carlson. And we have seen overnight, let me see if I can find this for you. Here we go. This is the fallout from the Tucker Carlson departure from Fox News. This from the DC Inquirer. Fox News loses more than half of its audience and key demographic following Tucker Carlson's departure. For Tuesday night's show of the renamed Fox News Tonight, hosted by Brian Kilmeade, the network only managed to reel in 1.7 million viewers. Fox still was able to beat out its competitors, who received 678,000 total viewers for CNN and 1.4 million for MSNBC. But the gap between the networks is clearly closing. In contrast, on Tucker's penultimate show, the Fox host pulled in 2,992,000 viewers, thus blowing out the competition at CNN. Anderson Cooper got 543,000 viewers, and MSNBC Chris Hayes pulled 1,372,000 viewers per ad week. Making matters even worse for Fox, the network plummeted in the key demographic of 25 to 54. That is the demographic that advertisers most want. It's the most valuable to them. And Tucker Carlson always dominated in that demographic. So heavy duty damage to Fox News with immediate damage done to the network with his departure. So where does that leave everything? Well, opportunity is really what we're looking at here, I think. A new era is upon us. A new, with every crisis, with every everything that comes at you in a negative way, there's sometimes a silver lining. It just opens the door to something new. And when a door is closing behind you, or when restrictions are placed upon you, what am I getting at? Well, we're seeing the evolution of media, really. These firings, the mainstream media going after their own, essentially eating their own. Fox News canceling its own number one anchor or op-ed presenter, Tucker Carlson. Dan Bongino, also a huge name. And where are they all going? They're going online. Where online? To Rumble. So you have all kinds of Dave Rubin, Dinesh D'Souza, Bongino. I think you'll soon add Tucker Carlson to that. Megyn Kelly, Kim Iverson, Larry Spencer, Scott Ritter. And he's not on, YouTube anymore, or many of the other social media platforms, but, you're even looking at Alex Jones. They started with him, didn't they? They went after him, tried to cancel him. They keep on going after him. They don't like what he has to say. Censor, censor, censor. Deplatform, cancel. And he still survives. He still manages to survive with his own platform. Tucker Carlson will survive and probably thrive. And as YouTube clamps down, the harder they squeeze, the more things will slip through their fingers, to make reference to a Star Wars Princess Leia quote. And that's kind of what's happening, isn't it? Because if you look at all of these independent, more conservative or alternative social media influencers, streamers, podcasters, collectively, I think they rival and maybe even exceed the total viewership of the mainstream media TV networks now. And then you've got platforms like ours too. We're under fire, we're under pressure, we're getting squeezed. In that we continue to find ways to survive here. And please, if you haven't, please go over to Rumble. Please jump in there, join in the chat there, build the community over there. We need the support there more than ever. Please consider supporting our channel as well. We'd like to continue to do work here, and we do have a lot more work to accomplish. Our focus here is shifting somewhat, as you've probably noticed. We're not what we were when things began, but that's because things have evolved. Things have changed. The objectives here are evolving and changing. And you're going to see some serious changes within this program in the months ahead. But we're not giving up either. You know, we have a lot of work to do, and we have to do it together. There is a lot to accomplish. And I have to admit, I'm a little bit out of step with just about everybody right now because I'm kind of old school. I'm still devoted to the ideals of journalism. It's in my blood. I can't fully get behind the cheerleading. When Brendan and I first came on here and started doing these broadcasts, him and I, you know, we had a discussion about what do we want this platform to do? How will we operate? And we talked about it and we said, it doesn't really matter who it is, what side somebody's on, if it's in the public interest, we'll call out anybody. We'll draw attention to any issue at any time, and we'll try to do what journalists are supposed to do and hold people who are in the public eye and offering themselves up as stewards of public trust, people who are asking or soliciting your support. We will try to hold them accountable, in particular politicians, but not just the official politicians, but also the people who are actual politicians as well, but don't come right out and admit it. But they're certainly political activists. It doesn't matter who it is, okay, or what organization they're with. I'm going to scrutinize everything. What we're devoted to here is free media, but also as a cornerstone of that, and maybe the most important foundational aspect of it, is this pursuit of truth. It's vital. Journalism forms the foundation of a democracy. It's one of the cornerstones, not the only one, but it is a foundational cornerstone of democracy. And without a free media that is acting in the public interest and always begins the quest for the pursuit of truth by asking that fundamental question, is this information that we have before us, is it true? I will always be devoted to that. I can't do anything else, folks. And I see information flowing from all sides, and not all of it is true. Some of it is designed to manipulate people. A lot of it, actually. A lot of it is. There's truth on all sides, and there's also lies. There's propaganda on all sides and also truth. And it is so difficult for everyone today to distinguish between what is truth and what is fiction, what is propaganda, what is misinformation, what is reality, what's real, what isn't. Of course, it's difficult. Science fiction from just a short time ago, in many respects, has become science fact on many fronts. And that makes it very difficult for people to sometimes figure out what's real and what isn't. But it's more than that. It's the way the information is presented to people and the way people are manipulated emotionally. But I'm devoted to it. I can't do anything else. And I don't like seeing people being exploited, abused, even damaged by those who seek either power or money or influence or status. A lot of people have a lot of different motivations to do a lot of things. All I can say is I'm doing my best. I'm going to continue to do my best. I think this is an opportunity, though, for us to embrace the new media environment, the new media landscape, the new media community. We're already part of this alternative media network, and that's what the opportunity is here. And Lori is very good at networking and bringing people together. I've noticed that. She's very good at connecting with others and collaborating and working with other people. And we're fortunate. We've been very lucky. I've been very lucky to make new associations, new friends, new partners. And that is growing here as well. And not all of those people share my political views, as you've seen on this program. Not by a long shot. Some of them have some views that are completely opposite to mine, but not on every front. There's a lot of dovetailing and a lot of common ground too. And that is what, also makes me kind of old school. I'm not so polarized that I can't see the other side. I'm always open to listening to other people and talking and even collaborating on things where we share common views, common goals, common ideals, common ideologies, or aspects of ideology. And these old political labels really don't apply in many respects. And these labels largely are not well understood by the public anyway. And I have concerns about the politics on all sides. I said last night on this program when talking with Leo that I kind of feel lost right now in the next federal election here in this country. I don't even know who I'm going to vote for. I'm not sure about any of it. I'm still feeling my way, which just shows you I am not in the bag for anyone. Not at all. And these politicians, it's always been my job to hold them accountable, to ask them tough questions. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do here. You guys too. I mean, really. Why do you accept? Why would anyone accept just what someone says? Or, you can't be part of our team if you ask hard questions. Ask the questions. Question everything, man, all the time. Doesn't mean asking questions, though, doesn't mean rejecting things out of hand. And it doesn't mean rejecting arguments from the other side either. It means keeping an open mind to all of it. And that's why I also never trust people who say you shouldn't listen to that guy or you shouldn't watch that. Don't pay any attention to that. No, go ahead and look at it. Watch it. Watch it all. You need to understand, even if it's something you don't agree with. I would still say I watch stuff I don't agree with all the time. It's a vital part of the exercise in coming to a full understanding of any subject. And if you're going to have an adversarial relationship with someone, if you have even a political, if you want to call it an enemy, you better understand your enemy. You better understand why they're your enemy. If you're not even listening to them, how would you defeat them? Or more importantly, how would you ever come to a peaceful resolution if you are so obstinate that you refuse to even listen to them anymore? No discussion ever ended in any kind of agreement with people just standing there screaming at each other or plugging their ears and closing their eyes. It's high time that we got back to some of that civil discussion. Now, you can hold whatever views you want on any issue, like these flag issues or transgender rights or any of that stuff. Hold whatever view you want to hold. But man, you better, we better as a society, as a community, as even a family, we better be prepared to engage in discussion with people, or we're never going to solve the problems. Unless you think that solving a problem is beating someone into submission. And that's what they call a war. And that's where that stuff goes. And we have far too much of that going on around the world too. I'm concerned, folks. I really am. I'm really worried that the anger, the polarization, everything has just reached even a higher fever pitch. The country's already on edge, man, in many respects, at least some groups. And they go overall, people still are proceeding day to day with a level head, and the majority of Canadians probably aren't paying very close attention to a lot of this political stuff. But the people who are involved are, passionate, divided, and some of them very angry on all sides. And when you're angry, you're not thinking straight. All I'm saying is we got to find a way to open productive dialogue again. Seems like we've just taken a huge step back somehow, and quickly. Wow. And I said this, a while back too. All this drag queen story time, la, 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 right? All these things going on. I said, this is going to hurt the LGBTQ plus S plus community. It's going to hurt them. I know that they're in there because they think that they're asserting their rights and trying to, I would say that their argument would be that they want to make kids less afraid of them or more comfortable with being around people who are drag queens, whatever. But I said, man, no, they're pushing too hard. They're pushing so hard, and the government is incentivizing them to do it. And it's going to backfire because it's going to, that action is going to get an equal and opposite reaction, and maybe even more. And that's what we're seeing now. And now everybody's fighting, and it is off the charts. Where they think they've made gains, now they're getting the pushback. And it has hurt them more than it's helped them. I haven't seen this issue at this level of, the heat turned up on this so high. I don't know if I've ever seen it this hot. Maybe it was just underground before. But regardless, it's certainly on public display right now. And, now we're seeing it, Rhonda's motion wasn't about, anti-LGBTQ plus S, whatever. It wasn't about that. But we're seeing it. We're seeing it at the high school there, right? They want to raise the pride flag. So it's just going beyond. And those groups in the schools, like the, what do they call them? The pride groups. They've been around for quite a while. They were present, those groups, the support groups. I know that my kids were talking about them, mentioning them when they were in high school. And that was quite a few years ago. They've been around for a long time. It's not new, but suddenly the protests are. Wow. God help us all. That's all I can say. Yeah, I just, and some of you are hating me, I'm sure, right now, just because I'm saying we need to sit down and talk and not fight. No, sorry. I don't want to fight. I'd like some peaceful resolution, please. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen and others. Time to go to the phones. Let's do it. Let me set this up here. Hang on just a moment. I got to push buttons and click clicks and do the clicky thing. And when I'm done clicking and pushing, we'll come back and we will go and take some calls. Here's the number to phone.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975-FREE. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
Okay, as Dr. Johnny Fever would say, fellow babies, it is time to go to the phones. Here we go, call-in show. And we have a caller. Who do we have up on the line here first? Looks like somebody from the Detroit area, perhaps. Detroit, maybe? Hello.
A long-time caller.
Hello,
Hello?
how are you? Hi, go ahead. Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Reese.
Reese, I haven't heard from
Hey.
you in so long, my friend. We so miss you. I miss you. Welcome back.
I didn't expect the number to call like this, like that. What's up, Maverick family? Long time no see. I've returned from the shadows of the underground, fighting in this Reaper's game of good versus evil. I'm still me. And I want to talk about the starting topic. So I want to talk about it real quick.
Okay, go ahead,
Very
man.
fast.
The floor is yours. You go ahead.
So I'm going to say this, bro. God created two people, Adam and Eve, completely period. That is the truth. What these far left freaks are doing, they are trying to corrupt our children and our siblings to completely turn them inside of something they are not. They are so evil. Everything that they've done, how can I talk to them? That they have completely attacked Christianity. They are saying negative things about me. And so it's like, how can I have a chance of even saying the truth if they shut me down? It's not homophobic, nor so-called trans something or anything, as they keep saying it. To say the truth, God made Adam and Eve. The devil created the devil himself created so many other stuff. That includes this nonsense about clearly having an attraction towards the same gender as you and I, right? So it's evil in nature. This is just going to get extreme flack, though I'm going to say this. You can have this completely muted on YouTube. Inside of the scriptures of the good book, this says homosexuality, that is a offense. Then also it says the sentence for committing this offense, complete erasure. Stuff like that, you have to understand. It's the truth. Whether or not you hate me for it, I'm okay alongside getting hated. I'm a Christian. I'm straight, mostly. For me, I have a soft spot for certain people who are homosexual, certain people who are mostly adults. As long as they leave the kids alone, I'm fine with them. But you cannot force kids to do what you do. That's pedophilia. It's wrong. The same as homosexuality. So, so am I entirely against them? No. I accept you for who you are as long as you come out to me about it because I'm an adult. So if I accept you into my life, then hey, you're fine with me.
But here's a question for you, Reese.
However,
How are you going to convince them otherwise or change their minds?
I do not know. Okay, I'm not sure. Clearly, after everything they have done, I don't know if I could talk to these freaks. They have become demons. So if you see a demon, what do? You fight back against it. They've declared war against Christianity and even Catholicism. That earlier clip I saw of Catholics yelling and screaming at that guy, yeah, they know what's going on. Catholicism is extremely against homosexuality. So I thought about this, that if I was Catholic and if I had the natural, complete attraction to the exact same gender as me, if God made me that way, that's a problem for me. Because here's something, I would feel like, hey, I am going to get yelled at, completely kicked out of my family and all that stuff. So also, here's a question. Can God make you gay when you're conceived? To me, I think he can do it. Since he made completely two genders, he can make you completely attracted to the other sex when you're conceived. And you won't know until you're going through puberty that you're attracted to that same gender. So it's how I see it. Though aside from everything else going on, like, yeah, bro, Trump being indicted, like, so bad. Freedom of speech is dying. We need to keep standing firm. We need to keep fighting back. We cannot give up. This, to me, here's how I see things right now. This is a Reaper's game on a global scale. And everything going on as well, there is noise surrounding us all. We have to silence the noise with fighting back. Never let the noise defeat you. Fight no matter what it takes. Get a partner, have a team, and never leave that team. No matter what happens, never accept erasure. Never accept your history getting erased. Never accept your existence, nor who you are getting erased. This is a Reaper's game, and we must win this Reaper's game. The elites will never silence us. We are the Maverick team, and we will always win. And them, the elites, they are the ruin bringers who will fail. We can win. This Reaper's game goes on for more than just 3 weeks, 3 decades, or maybe centuries. It's going to keep going on. Even in the year 3000, it will. And I know me, I don't know if I'll even stay alive at that point because I don't know how far I'm going to go in my life. Though, hey, here's who knows. God knows. He makes a table for all of us. He creates a path for us. As soon as we realize that path, we follow it. We follow everything we believe in down that path. It's set up for us. He sets it up. Always know that. God sets everything up for you. When you realize this, you will have everything in your life completely come to you. Have faith and never give up. If you guys are Christians in the chats and even Catholics in the chat, say amen 7 times and always pray for those who do not believe in this disgusting stuff that is coming from the devil down in the 9 circles of hell. You will be blessed. Pray for them. Bless those who are against this to join us. We have to save them. Their souls can be saved.
Okay.
So we need them on our team.
Stop for a sec. How are you going to save them, Reese?
Have to convince them somehow. Have to help them understand they are getting corrupted.
Okay.
Have them understand the noise that is negatively affecting them. Have them fight back.
Let me ask you this. You saw those people screaming at that school board meeting tonight. Do you think that they convinced anyone of anything there?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. I don't think so. They have gotten corrupted, too corrupted. The noise has completely drowned out their senses of reason. They are too far gone. Those who are too corrupted, they have to face erasure.
We just need, no, I don't want to erase anybody. I don't want to erase anybody. We just,
I'm not saying in the literal sense. I'm saying inside of the, I'm saying inside of a, okay, okay, I would say maybe like a, okay, I don't even know, how to say it. Though it's in a completely other sense. I'm not saying having them hurt or nothing. Right. Nothing completely as that.
Yeah. Nor should they be erased from society in any way either. You know, you just think back, you know, we had a lot of people who didn't get the Kool-Aid injected, and a lot of people were erased from society for a while, and now a lot of people we don't want to do that, do we? I don't want to.
No, we do not.
I don't want to be like
no,
that.
we do not.
So
exactly. Have to somehow defeat the noise around them.
Yeah.
Have to have that noise away from them.
Yeah.
Have to somehow reach them. Have to somehow talk to them.
Right. That's right. We have to find a way to talk to each other. It's the only, in the end,
have to erase the noise, then talk to them.
Yeah. Even in
and
war,
I'm not gonna lose this game yet.
Yeah. Even
I'm not gonna lose this game.
In every war, even at the end, it still comes down to people sitting at a table talking, and maybe one side won and the other side maybe lost, but there's still an agreement at the very end, and it comes down to talking. And then after the fighting is over, people still need to find a way to live together.
Exactly. Find a way to team up and take down the noise and take down the game master.
Yeah.
If you take down the game master, things will be great for all of us in the end. We will find peace if we win this Reapers game and defeat the game master.
Doesn't mean you have to compromise your principles. Doesn't mean you have to, run contrary to your own beliefs or morals at all. But we have to find a way to talk to each other.
We have to find a way to reach each other.
Yes, we do.
Completely away from the noise.
Yeah. Yep.
No matter what, fight the noise, win, and completely team up. And then when we beat the game master in the end of all this, who are the elites in charge of this, we will all live in peace and true harmony, a true utopia, a true paradise on earth. That I know that someday God has envisioned for all of us to live in. True peace on earth.
Well, there's something to aspire to. Reese.
Exactly.
Love you, man.
Yes.
Don't wait so long to call back the next time. We miss you around here.
Dude, I haven't called you in months,
I know.
Bro. Hey, dude, I've been watching you for a while, though. You had a lot of money completely dropped, and I was like, oh, man, I can't even call them no more. Why? Then you said it's all because of the dude, Dude, how much cash did you blow?
What are you talking about? How much cash did I blow? What are you talking
Dude, bro, in the calls, bro. In the calls.
Oh, you mean the phone?
Yo.
Yeah, we have to pay for the phone system.
Yes, in the phone.
This is costing money right now.
Yes.
That's right. We pay by the minute for the phone.
Exactly.
That's right. But you can still call. That's what
Exactly.
it's here for. That's what we pay the money so you guys can have a voice. So the phones work.
Yes.
That's what it's here for. So you call back, man. It's here for you. It's here for the community. It's for the family. It's for the channel. It's for the public. That's what it's here for.
Dude, it's for the entire world to speak the truth.
Yeah.
Those who are completely here, join the Maverick team. Talk to people to completely join us. Convince them, tell the truth, fight the noise, and we can win this Reapers game.
Yeah, we'll get to a better place together.
Yep. We will.
Yeah. Listen, my friend, we're going to get you to wrap up because we've got some other calls in the queue. But any final thoughts tonight?
Okay, I'm gonna say this, bro. We can defeat the final boss, and that final boss is a phoenix. We have to defeat that thing, no matter what. Defeat the phoenix, and we win this game. I love you all. Thank you so much for having me back.
Okay.
Okay, I'll call you guys sooner or later. See you later.
All right, see you, man.
Yup. I got noise to fight. Bye.
Okay. All right, who do we have here next? You go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, Rick. How are you? What a day, huh?
Oh, yes. Every day seems to get just
it just keeps getting. Yeah. You got my heart racing. Not only are you wearing red, but everything on the show made my heart rate go up further and further and further till I was really seeing red, not just on your shirt.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I was at ICBC yesterday.
ICBC?
And first thing
what's ICBC?
Yeah. ICBC is where you get your licenses and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. You're right. Gotcha. Okay.
I'm in BC.
Right.
And first thing I saw was there's no longer a men's and women's washroom. Both doors say all gender.
Oh boy.
Oh, God. And I muttered this under my breath, and I just took a deep breath. And
see, I would be afraid for my kids to go into a washroom like that. See,
absolutely, I'm not comfortable as a grown woman to do that. It's the thing. The thing of it is, I mean, this is all I kept thinking while I was watching and everything tonight, as my heart race was going a mile a minute. The government office, the school boards, all of these places, the only flags that need to be flying are our country flag. That's simple, because there's no other way to do this the way it always has been. Keep it clean. And if you want to have special months or whatever, go ahead, have at it. Have your event. And people who actually want to be in it and participate in it, go ahead. And those of us that don't, we don't. Why does it have to be so convoluted and you have to shove it in our faces? I am choking on rainbows over here. I can't take it anymore. Everywhere I go, everything's being shoved down my throat, and I'm being made like, what about the rest of us? We're the ones being marginalized now and diminished. And this whole transgender thing, I mean, in Minnesota, a lawmaker introduced a bill removing anti-pedophile language from state's Human Rights Act. Okay, here we go. That was on Fox News. Someone sent that to me. I know that one's for real. They're going after the children, plain and simple. It's plain as the nose on our faces. And honestly, I've lately seen photos that make me so I don't sleep at night. From what I've seen of these surgeries, it's pure mutilation. Like anybody that puts these young, small children, like some of these photos where it's not just the breast parts, it's the other parts. And there was a boy that died on the table recently. I don't want to go into details of it all, but oh, Rick, it's heart-wrenching. Like, I'm not anti anything. Do what you want, be who you are, but don't shove it down my throat. Like, it's enough. Like, we've got thousands of good people in Canada, and we never had this before. Right. But it only has been since Trudeau has created this divisive environment that he's got people worked up into such a frenzy. My God, my ears are on fire. They're hot because my blood pressure has gotten so high. This is insane to do this to the citizens of Canada. Keep the Canadian flags in our institutions. That's it. American flags, keep them in your institutions. If you want to, if each country wants to share a flag, share your flags, but keep it there. That is our country. That's, government stuff. That's flags. That's what it's meant to. All of a sudden, people are coming up with flags left, right, center, and from the other side, Rick. You can't muddy the water. Like it's like throwing chum into the water, and all the sharks are coming from every direction, and it's going to eat all of us alive.
Well, like for years, they've been raising the pride flag here in this community at City Hall.
Yeah.
They've been doing it like when it's Pride Month, they put the pride flag up, and
Right.
it's people just, it wasn't a big deal to anybody until like last week. But Rhonda's motion here locally was different. That was initiated because the municipality was saying no to some groups, not because the pride flag was going up. But I don't know if people understand what the issue really even is. It's like the pride flags, all the flags for these different organizations in front of these municipal buildings, the reason they go up is it would be like Cancer Month, right? Canadian Cancer. So the Canadian Cancer Society gets to fly its flag for a week or whatever. So the mayor will go out and then they have a little news conference ceremony thing. They raise the flag and then they get a little splash in the newspaper. And it's like, it's Cancer Awareness Month. And, they've got these fundraisers and these community events going on, and it just raises awareness. That's what it's supposed to be about. And one of the organizations has been for quite a long time, even here and across Canada, in every community really, has involved pride. But what's happened in the last, since really you kind of hit the nail on the head, is in Canada, it's with Trudeau. In the U.S., it's with Biden. And even before Biden, with, Obama and Clinton and all. But anyway, I go back to that speech that Justin Trudeau gave in London, Ontario. This is about a year and a half ago. And he said, we have to move beyond tolerance. And he is so wrong, because what does that mean?
No kidding.
It's not enough to just be tolerant of someone else who has a different point of view or a different lifestyle. Now he's saying you have to endorse it. You have to not only accept it and tolerate it,
you have to embrace it.
That's wrong.
Yeah, no. And that's terribly wrong. That's diminishing. Like, not only have they wiped out the Canadian culture, what we did have of Canadian culture, they've wiped that out. But now they're wiping out, we don't know who's a man and who's a woman. They're attacking the children. They're diminishing everything that we all held dear in the world. It's not right.
Yeah.
It's just,
because
it's not right.
Because as much as they want you to accept them and their lifestyle and whatever, they have to accept you too. Yeah. They have to accept you as a Christian. They have to accept that you don't, believe that you do believe that what they do is a sin, and they have to accept that. That's what they have to do on their side.
You hit it right there. You hit it right there, Rick. You got it right there. Yes. Therein lies the problem.
Right.
These people are unwilling. They vilified us.
Right.
We who've done nothing, and they're unwilling to accept us.
Yes.
And accept our normal lifestyle. They're shoving everything down our throats. And therein lies the big issue.
Right.
And it's, it's unacceptable to try to make us accept them. And, oh no, but we're never going to accept you because you guys are terrible people because you don't see how special we are.
Right. And not only that, they say that you're full of hate or you engage in hate speech. And that the Bible is even full of hate. And that's not right either. So that's not right.
That's
and that's
not
why I
right.
keep saying we have to get back to a place of, and I keep using the word tolerance. They have to tolerate us or people like who are not gay or engaging whatever other lifestyle, and we have to accept them. I'm not gay, But I don't have a, you go ahead and be
Yeah.
gay. But if I believe in the Bible
Yeah.
and I believe that what you do is a sin, then you have to accept that I think it's a sin. Just like people with
Exactly
other
right.
different religions have different customs.
It's
They
a
believe
two-way
different
street.
things. Right. So you have to respect it.
Two-way street.
It has to be all the time, but it's not now because
Yes.
Justin Trudeau says we have to
No.
move beyond tolerance. No, I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
think that
Justin
is
Trudeau
an
is
insult
great.
to people.
Exactly. It's a huge insult. And now you're getting why my ears are burning hot from blood pressure going through the roof. I'm over, like, I'm so done with everything being shoved down my throat and me being made to feel like a horrible human being when I'm just a normal person and I go out my door and all of a sudden I can't use the bathroom. All of a sudden I have to walk upon one rainbow after another, and people walking past me and getting angry at me if I don't, acknowledge the rainbow that they're flying.
But here's the trap.
I mean, just let me live my life.
Right, but here's the trap that the people are falling into. It's the anger. It's like they're shoving it down my throat. So I'm going to go down to that school board and I'm going to get right up in their face. No, that's a mistake.
Well,
that's the huge trap.
That is a big mistake.
Because you're engaging in the exact kind of behavior that they then point to as they see they are violent, they are hateful. And that's no good either.
And that's the thing. It is a trap. But that's what I've noticed is that the way they behave and their Antifa connection too, that is like they generate an animosity without even saying anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way things are happening, and they never used to be that way. And I've seen plenty, like I've mentioned it before, I've seen, normal, LGBTQ people and normal gay people who are coming out against this new movement that has taken over all their hard work of just being able to live their lives and be accepted. So it's not just, I don't even know how to even deal with it anymore, because the regular LGBTQ people and the regular gay people who have been there for years, they don't even know how to cope with it because they're getting ripped right into it and swept up into the big old net, and it's causing so much animosities, unnecessary, all over the place.
You're right. It's not necessary. None of this had to happen. Government, political organizations,
government,
they're forcing it. And by forcing the issue, they're creating all of these problems. And it shouldn't be in the schools.
Exactly.
It shouldn't, like these political things shouldn't be in the schools. Like, a teacher should not be sitting there preaching politics of any kind to a kid. Now, you can talk about politics in a political science class or a social studies class, but the teacher should be apolitical. Keep their political views to themselves.
They should be teaching math, science, arts, all the normal stuff the kids need to actually learn.
And they need to learn
none of this other shit.
Present sort of a neutral point of view, or at least balance in what they're doing. But that's not what's going on in the schools. The government is using the schools in order to further a political and a social engineering objective.
Yes.
And that's what's causing the trouble.
Yep. And the government is at the source of it all.
Right. And that is why also it's a trap to go down there and get up in the faces of the people who are engaging in this behavior, which I think is what the government wants anyway, honestly. They want this conflict, but it's a mistake because you're not going to solve the problem by going down there and trying to shout someone into submission. You're not going to solve the problem there. You have to take it straight to the politicians and solve a political problem using political means, not by.
And here's the other thing, though. Exactly. But the government has that end of things covered too. I've even gone down to my own MP's office, and you must realize how impossible it is to even see them. They've got themselves sequestered and well protected. Like, they're not making it easy for us to even have a discussion, even on the simple level, right?
But it's
so.
Not,
I mean, they're all.
But it's not just about talking to them. It's about getting involved. It's about getting involved in your political parties. It's about on that level, influencing political platforms before parties go to elections. It's about running for municipal office like Rhonda did here locally. And she's already making a difference, and it's not easy. And you get a lot of political pushback, but that's how you make a difference without getting up in somebody's face and having a freaking shouting match that goes nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff is just, it works against all of us. It's just not healthy. It's for anybody. It's not productive. It's just it just makes frustration rise to a bigger crescendo for everybody involved. And before, I don't want to forget mentioning this, because in my little world, I've been hit with a Bill C-11 issue. I didn't see it coming, but I have a music video that's been on Facebook for, quite a few years. And all of a sudden I got a notification, and the notification says as follows: your video is muted in certain countries where Meta does not have music rights.
Oh, well, that's not a Bill C-11 thing so much. That's a copyright issue. That means you used music.
I've never gotten that.
Yeah, I get it all the
No,
time.
it's my song.
It's your
my song. I wrote it.
Oh.
I wrote it. It's an original song. Every single. It was pure Canadian content. I wrote every note. I recorded every note. It's my work.
Is it registered?
Mine. Nobody else.
Is it registered for copyright? Yes. That's why. Because they don't.
It is registered.
Yeah, it's registered, and that's why. Because they don't realize it's yours. So you have to send them an appeal. You have to send them an appeal, and then to prove that it's your work, so that then they release.
I've already done this.
Yeah.
I've already done this. They keep slapping me with the same copyright.
Really?
And this is a new wording. This is yes, it's a new wording and everything. I called the CD Baby. It's registered like CD Baby. I did the copyright when I recorded the song before I even released it. Yeah. And before the video went out. And the video itself is encoded with a copyright as well.
That's why.
And they know it's mine. Well, they know.
Yeah, but the copyright too doesn't extend to other countries for them. So anyway, it's copyright's complicated law, form of law. So,
yeah, it's just.
I've been hit
but anyway,
with it, from time to time. That's why I try to only use royalty-free music in my productions. It's a long story, but that's also, for anybody out there producing stuff, if you use the YouTube audio library music, you can't really go wrong. You won't get hit with the copyright strikes on that stuff. But even when I purchased royalty, if I purchase royalty-free music with the license, you still get hammered with the copyright strike, and then you have to submit the appeal with the proof that you purchased the license to use the music in order for them to allow the video to be released in the various jurisdictions again. So it's a little complicated.
Yeah, well, I can't wait.
I stopped
can't wait to see what they do to me with the bill,
because it just became a hassle. It was like, I'm not paying for it, because then I still end up having to prove that I paid for it. And you know what happens with that royalty-free music is if you buy that stuff and then you get hit with the copyright strike, any revenue generated from the video at that point goes back to the copyright holder. So even though you pay for the rights, they end up getting the royalties anyway, unless you appeal and show the proof of purchase with the license and in correspondence, and then get them to release it. And then it reverts back. But what a pain in the neck that is.
Well, let me tell you, as an actual writer dealing with that kind of shit, you do everything right to protect your own work. And you have to keep proving that you're the writer.
Yeah.
Like the last fiasco was just unbelievable. I can't remember what the wording was now, because I chose to wipe it out of my head. Didn't expect to see yet a new one. But it's my own stuff, Rick. I mean, Jesus.
It's happened to me too, because videos that I have produced that are on other channels, I get hit with copyright strikes on my other channels for some of the automotive content that I've produced. So it's like,
right,
I'm getting copyright strikes against myself, because that's how the YouTube copyright.
Yeah, and this wasn't even YouTube. I mean, this is stupid Facebook. So I mean, it's a good thing I don't use my
Facebook's heavy on that. especially on the
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good thing I haven't been using my, like, I'm almost scared to even put my toe back in the water with all this coming down the pike. But before I forget, they voted against flying the flags, by the way. I saw that. I don't know if you saw that. What you were talking about in the beginning of the show with the conferences and whatever. I saw it come across my
the
Twitter
school
feed.
board.
Yeah, the school board, they voted against.
So they're not
Thank
going
God.
to so they're not going to fly the pride
No.
flag. Yeah.
They're not going to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel relieved because I think enough is enough for the kids. They got so much to deal with. Like, just let it go. Like, come on. So that's what happened there. I saw it go flying by my screen, and I just went, yes. You know, some of the stuff that was being said, I mean, holy, that was hard to listen to in that in that meeting. But anyways, there's my 2 bits for the night, and I'll let you go, and you can go on to the next. And good to talk to you.
Pleasure's been mine, as always. Pleasure has been mine.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah.
You have a good evening.
You too. Thank you for the call.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye. You too.
And folks, let me see where we're at here. Again, if you are inclined to support the channel, you can do that at freedomreporters.com. Let me just bring that up here. If you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed, please consider doing that. It does help the channel a lot. Just hitting the like button on YouTube helps push the video up in the algorithm. If you hit the notification bell, you'll find out every time we post a new video. And please, please, please consider subscribing over on Rumble. We're growing over there. We need your help. And it doesn't cost anything to go over there and subscribe. And on Facebook too, share, like. What can I say? We really need that. Again, doesn't cost anything to share and like, but it sure does help the channel spread the word and gives everybody here a voice. And not everybody here is in agreement on everything, but that's okay, because that is part of what the political discussions are all about. It's about exploring issues and giving everyone a voice here, as long as it's civil and respectful and stays on topic and doesn't result in a bunch of mudslinging and personal attacks and channel sabotage and all kinds of other problems. freedomreporters.com to donate, maverickdonations.com to donate. Really appreciate the support that we have had. And the work here continues. I am going to wrap it up. It is now 9:20 p.m. on the 26th day of April, 2023. Thank you, everyone, for joining me here on the broadcast. Thanks for joining in the conversation, participating in the chat, being part of our Maverick family. I will be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, on the flip side with the one, the only, the incomparable, the incredible Ian Nunn, who will talk about the spiritual war that is part of this third world war that we are now immersed in. See y'all tomorrow.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.